right, so welcome everybody. My name is Mr. Moon, one of the career development counselors here at Lindsey Wilson College. So this course is going to be about career counseling, career development. So we're going to cover, in the next 16 weeks, we're going to cover a little bit of information pertaining to career counseling. We're going to cover some things about some theories that you can use in career counseling. We're going to talk about the history of it, programs that you can establish through career counseling. But on this first day, I keep looking at you. On this first day, we're going to talk about the historical development of career counseling. So by show of hands, has anybody ever had an interest in career counseling? Good deal. Okay, we got 2 out of the 3, so that's good. So some of the things we're going to talk about: historical development. So the counseling movement is a product of our development as a nation. So it has involved political, economic, educational, social progress, and change. So from the start of, probably say around like the 1800s, career counseling has touched almost every aspect of what we do, right? So if you think about political, right, there's laws based around work. There's laws based around working conditions. One of the things now that we see political is we're talking about raising the minimum wage, right? So that kind of goes into the political bucket. Economic, the same way. Are we getting paid enough to pay our rent? Or are we getting paid enough to do the things that we want to do in life? Educational, how are we teaching kids to get jobs, right? So one of my jobs, I used to be a career specialist, and we would have a program set up and designed so that kids can, we can teach kids basic skills how to get jobs. Social progress, we've went from all men working to women working, to children working. So we're seeing some type of social progress in work, and especially in certain fields that, you know, in the 1900s, you know, a woman couldn't work, but now we're starting to see that progress of women getting those jobs that will be primarily for men. So career counseling touches all aspects of human life. It has a great impact on the working lives of individuals. So that'll be something that we cover moving forward. So the 6 stages of development. So stage 1. Now I know this could be a little bit boring, but I like it because it can kind of give us a historical look on the impact and the progress of career counseling, or careers within itself. Bless you.
Thank you.
So in 1890 through 1919, the growth of placement services in urban areas to meet the needs of growing industrial organizations. So this is where we see those factory workers come into play. When the industrial revolution came about, we started seeing these things like, you know, people wanting to work in factories. We got out of the coal mine. Well, you do see coal mining. You see all of these things integrated in people working with their hands, right? When we get to stage 2, is this touchscreen? No. So in stage 2, between the 1920s and the 1939, growth of educational guidance in elementary schools and secondary schools started to appear. So now we're asking younger kids the infamous question. You guys know the infamous question?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
What do you want to be when you grow up? Right? So now we are taking this development of careers into elementary schools and secondary schools, right? When we get to stage 3, significant growth of guidance is needed in colleges and universities. So now between the 1940s and 1959, now remember that's post or going through World War II and some other things, we start to see a lot of people kind of go through college. So now we're going from, you know, being 13 working in the coal factory to now we're going to see people going to college to become doctors, lawyers, dentists, business people. So now we need guidance in those colleges and universities. So how are we guiding, you know, college students and finding the careers that they want to go into? Any questions so far? Stage 1 through 3? Good deal. Stage 4, 1960 to 1979, highlighted organizational career development. Work became seen as a pervasive life role. What do you guys think about that?
Pervasive.
Life roles. So
Yeah.
what that means is everybody has to work now.
Yep.
Everybody. So if you're an adult, you have to have a job, right? So now we're starting to see people going to work. We're starting to see those college students integrate into the workforce, right? Everything? Good. Stage 5, between the 1980s and 1989. So this is where we get introduced to technology. We get introduced to computers. We get introduced to the car phone. We start seeing these millionaires and these billionaires ride around. I don't know if you guys seen the old cell phones look like a briefcase. My uncle had one. I thought that was great. So information technology was introduced in the beginning of career counseling, and outplacement services kind of start seeing it now. So now you are seeing people who are having difficulty finding jobs and what they want to do. So career counseling started to make its way into people's lives. Stage 6, 1990 through the present, changing in demographics, multicultural counseling, technology development, and school to work transitions. So now, if you guys can remember back in the 90s, you guys may be young since you're future counselors here in your master's program, but for those who can remember the 90s, that's when work was like, there used to be a theme song, like, I forget the name of the song, but it was like a song about work. Like, gotta work, something like that. It's a pop song, I don't know. But you start seeing a lot of people go to work. Like that was just the thing. You see the working woman, right? You got the Mary Tyler Moore hat thrown in the air. You got, you just start seeing a lot more occupational themes, right? You could turn on the TV and see a family and they always put out what job they have. My favorite TV personality is Al Bundy. You guys know what his job was?
Shoe salesman.
He was a shoe salesman. And even then, it was a frowned upon job. Now you forget, he was a shoe salesman, but what kind of shoes did he sell?
Women's
He
shoes.
sold women's shoes. So you could kind of, and he hated his job. He hated his job. I don't know how much he made, but he supported a whole family of selling women's shoes. But then that's kind of, that's where we start seeing a lot of work, and especially in schools, right? So now they're teaching those vocational things. So back when I was in school, like right before I transitioned into high school, they had like wood shop. They had all of these programs that you can get those certifications with. So we're seeing more school to work transitions come into play. All right, any questions here? 6 stages? Good deal. So the historical stages represent a significant development period in career counseling. So we see changes in society, right? So we went through the 1800s all the way up into the present. Work roles. We see Al Bundy selling women's shoes. We see, women firefighters, women police officers, women construction workers. We see men as nurses. A job that's primarily fit for a woman. Now we're seeing that transition and that interaction, how work roles are being shown. Rural to urban living. So now you have people who get great jobs in the city, they move out to the suburbs. You start seeing people in the suburbs have more, I don't want to say life. You start seeing a lot of different small suburbs pop up related to where work is, right? Where we live and where we work. So that goes right into rural and urban living. We also see human behaviors and ability were used to address problems of living in chaotic conditions of urban life and unfit work environments. So think about those coal miners. That is the most unsafe job you can apply for. And if you go on YouTube, you can always see, you can find like the world's worst jobs. And it's like guys walking all the way up on all those turbines and fixing those things. That's unfit work environment. But we start seeing that transition to where, you working in a factory, they have what is called OSHA, right? So now we have to protect the workers. We have to make sure that our workers are not being hurt, and we can't have those unfit work environments. Now, in certain areas of the United States, like if you go to West Virginia or you come down to like Appalachian areas, you'll kind of see some of those things still taking place. But like major cities and bigger cities, you know, as we get through this whole this semester, we'll start talking about some different work environments and things of that nature. Any questions so far? Good to go. All right. So one of the early contributors of career counseling was Frank Parsons. So he was an instructor in public schools and universities. He authored many books, and his focus was on helping people make occupational choices. So his conceptual framework for helping someone choose a career, a clear understanding of yourself, your aptitudes, abilities, resources, and limitations and other qualities, right? So you as future counselors, what are some of your aptitudes and abilities that fit the profession that you guys are getting into? Empathetic?
And like, you gotta have good people skills, be willing to, you know, sit and listen and want to listen to other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the worst things is as a counselor, you just don't want to, if you don't want to listen to other people's problems, you probably shouldn't be a counselor.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to be patient, creative, and, you know, like she said, just have, you know, good people skills and appreciate other people.
Okay. All right. Got you. So you got to know who you are. And then we'll kind of explore that as we get through this quarter. Keep saying quarter. As we get through the semester, we'll start doing some more self-exploration about why we are here in the seats that we're in, okay? A knowledge of the requirements and conditions of success, advantages and disadvantages, compensation opportunities, and prospects in different lines of work. So that just kind of looks at, what do I need to be a counselor? What do I need to be a firefighter? What do I need to be a successful counselor? What do I need to be a successful firefighter? Does the job pay, right? Like, am I getting this job and it's going to pay me a lot of money? Now, that'll be something that we talk about as counselors throughout this semester. And the last part is basically an understanding of both. All right. So by 1910, 35 cities had some type of career guidance in their school, right? So we're looking at 1910, and 35 cities were set on helping people find the careers that they're in. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the definitions of career counseling, right? And I need somebody to be my timekeeper, so I'll make sure I go over. But career has been defined as time extended working out of a purposeful life pattern through work undertaken by the person. What are your thoughts on that? Time extended working out of a purposeful life pattern through work undertaken by the person.
I think that, you know, the purposeful part is important in career counseling, especially because I think that's where some people run into a lot of issues, like what's providing your money and what feels purposeful to you conflict. So I think, I don't know, I just think that's a powerful word in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. I'm real big on finding your purpose in work. I know we'll kind of get into like career life perspectives here in a minute, but I've always been big on purpose over profit, right? Like contributing back without looking so much into the financial aspects of it. But, you know, some people are different. So careers are a vague term with no meaning, where counselors should provide more of an enlightening or encouraging perspective of self-development through learning new skills and trades and basic skills to move up or change careers. All right. So one of the first definitions is career development, the total constellation of psychological, sociological, educational, physical, economic, and chance factors that combine to influence the nature and significant work in the total lifespan of any given individual. So that's basically the development portion of careers. Now remember, there's a couple more definitions here, so I want you guys to remember those, because I'm gonna have a question for you. Now you have career counseling. So counseling activities associated with career choice over a lifespan. All aspects of the individual are considered: family, work, personal, and leisure. So this includes counseling activities associated with work, stress, and adjustments in mental health. Now, as counselors, throughout your program, you're going to see a lot of mental health things, right? Psychotherapy and group counseling and all of these things. One thing about careers is that everybody has to have a job, but mental health has to be considered in working with people, regardless if you're a career counselor or a regular counselor. That career job part will always pop up. So you want to consider the family, the work, personal, and leisure. And you also want to, as counselors, especially whether you're a career counselor or a mental health counselor, you always want to look for programs to enhance skills, relationships, adaptability, flexibility to increase self-agency. So the main part about career counseling, and just like counseling within itself, you want to make sure that the person is autonomous. They can do for themselves when they need to. It's the same concept with career counseling. We want to get you past that step so that you can go out, look for the job yourself, find a job that's purposeful for yourself in all aspects of that. All right? Any questions here? Good? All right. Career guidance, services and activities in educational institution, agency, and other organizations that offer counseling and career-related programs. So these are some of the things that we see in schools. We see those career specialists, we see those vocational counselors, and they don't really do counseling per se. They mainly do things that structure around, let's say, students to help them find their purpose through work. So they won't necessarily think about family, leisure, and stuff like that. You can combine the three, but when it comes to career services, that would be somebody like a resume writer, right? Like, I don't care about your family. I don't want to know about this. Here's your resume. Go find a job. Now, if you need this part, interviewing skills. If you need to learn how to go in and introduce yourself, that's where career guidance comes in to play, all right? Next thing that we're going to talk about is career life perspective. So the term career life connects all life roles. So Donald Super, which is one of our, career counselor theorists, we'll talk about him probably in like week 4 or 5 when we get there. But he suggests that because people are involved in several life roles simultaneously, success in one role facilitates success in another, and all roles affect one another over the lifespan. So it's a mouthful. But what that says is that if I'm successful in this role, I could be successful in this role, and then any other role I have, I'll be successful at. That's what we kind of want to do as career counselors, is to make sure that if you are successful through your job, then it could be your family. Then your family, then it's your leisure. So everything is connected. Now there's a figure that I didn't put up here because I want to wait till we get to that theorist theorist part. So career development needs to focus on interrelationships of all life roles. So we'll discuss this here in a second. So some of the key factors of integrating career life, how one values their time. So as career counselors, looking at this right here, and we'll kind of talk about it a little bit. As counselors, future counselors, do any of these relate to, as being a counselor, related to any one of those? Meaning, if you take the job as a counselor, will all of these roles be valued? So think about it. As counselors, we take a lot home with us, right? So we spend a lot of time with other people. We deal with other people's issues. How does that affect family? How does that affect your leisure time, right? How does it affect your social status? Does it give you purpose? Like, does being a counselor make you better in society or better amongst your friends, right? Place of residence. Some people here, we live in different areas, Does that have an effect on the job that you have? Do you live 40 minutes away? Do you live an hour away? How does where you live and what you do coincide with each other? What about the financial opportunities? I see a misspelling there, but it's okay. We mess up. Financial opportunities. Can you grow as a counselor financially? right? You'll hear a lot of counselors say, I don't get paid enough to do what I want to do. That might be an opportunity for you to do some soul searching, some self-searching to say, hey, I need to get paid more. But if you love what you do and you like what you do, you'll find ways to fulfill that financial portion of your life. And you'll find ways to hit the family, leisure, social, and place of residence as well, too. All right? So as counselors, this opens up doors for us to introduce concepts that add meaning and clarity to how work and life are intertwined. Okay? So since we're a little strapped for time here, I want to kind of have a quick discussion. So how do you think change in the workplace will influence career choice? So think about the job that you have right now. What could possibly change in your job that will make you doubt your career or influence your career, whether it be good or whether it be bad?
I think just changing personnel. Sometimes, and I know changing your entire career may be a little extreme at times, but I think there has been times where I really struggled with the people I've worked with.
Yeah.
And that's really questioned whether or not I would want to continue to pursue the career that I'm in.
Absolutely.
Because I kind of generalize that to everybody that may be, in the field or whatever. So for me, that's been difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think a big one too right now is everything that happened with COVID. A lot of people changed jobs because of that, or they lost their job, went back to school because that was one of the options to do that seemed safe. So stuff like a pandemic or something big that happens in the whole, that affects everybody. That can definitely make some changes and influence what we decide to do.
Yeah. And we also see it now too when we first talked about minimum wage and earnings in different jobs. You could ride past a McDonald's now, and I don't think I've ever seen a McDonald's closed in my life. I've never seen one tore down. I've always seen it repaired and remodeled, but now we're starting to see these places closed down simply because there's a change in the workplace. So you got people like, I want to get paid $15 an hour. And we'll talk about that too, because I don't even think people are happy in their jobs that they have now. I think if you think about being if we think about being a kid, and remember like when you were a child, you go into a place and like everybody just behind the counter just seemed happy with what they were doing. Everybody was excited. But now we're starting to see people kind of transition out of that. They're starting to find a purpose. And they're starting to find things that they want to do that relates to them more. Like nobody wants to work overtime. Nobody wants to work over here. Nobody wants to be burnt out. So as counselors and through this class, we're going to figure out, not only are we going to soul search for ourselves, but we're also going to find ways that we can help our clients figure out what they want to do. And the last question here, how does being a future counselor relate to your career life perspective? So think about these right here. How does being a counselor relate to that? Future counselor.
I think one of the reasons we're in this program is financial opportunities. The more we develop in our career, the more opportunities we're going to have.
Sure.
Place of residence kind of falls under that too, because if you get licensed, it kind of depends. Like it can be hard to change that license to a different state, so that's stuff you have to consider. And like you said, we take a lot of stuff home sometimes, so you got to find that work-life balance, because that could affect your family time and like when you're actually doing things and when you're not.
Yeah, especially if you really are into your job.
Right.
And those will be some things that we look at here in the future. Anybody have any other questions? All right, cool. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a break, take about 15 minutes, come back, and then we'll jump into more of the career life perspective. All right.